Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Island Tea with your faves, Kevon and Azem, featuring Jade, Gwen Johnson.
Morning.
Oh my God.
It is Friday. Yay.
Friday.
Finally.
Yes.
Friday. Oh,
Finally, boy.
And it's going to be a long weekend too, so I'm excited about that.
Oh yes,
Bye.
I have to pick a replay for y'all. I forgot to do it.
bye. Watch your right. Needed, you know. Needed. But I am grateful. I'm grateful to the workers for working so hard that they work out by here. We gotta celebrate them and get there.
I think we need more, but you know.
I don't tell you before the work week coming here.
When?
Hopefully come before we retire.
I was about to say, I feel like you're taking
Well,
too long.
No, I think
Azem, I think we could pick our own poison. Well, not even poison. We can pick our own Mai Tai here because we could just not show up on a Friday.
Oh,
Huh?
I love that.
Huh?
Okay.
You
to
smart.
make it fair,
You
we
smart.
could not show up
You
on a
ain't even
Monday.
pick a
We
Monday.
could
You
just not
said
show up on a
Friday?
Monday.
Like, bruh.
Yeah, I changed it. To make it fair, we could just not show up on a Monday.
I like that.
Better go to fire us?
I like that.
No. I can't fire myself. That don't make no sense.
Yo, Kevin, will just be winning here. Like, anyway,
Come on, let's trade places.
How I mean, what I do?
with the great ideas.
Oh, yes.
Oh boy, but everybody good?
Yeah. I'm just.
Everybody in the space cup there.
Relatively.
Obviously got Kevin in a
Nice
good
cold,
mood.
a nice brew. With
Oh.
Nice, yes.
Now that space foam?
Nice foam.
Oh, nice.
Bro, if y'all ain't see me next week, the vaccination took me out. No, Kevon,
You did it already?
No, I have to. I'm going to do it today since you put it into perspective with CPL.
Okay. Cricket is what's in you there too.
The other side of cricket,
Wait,
the work.
what
back.
was the date you had to get it by? Like June,
June.
something? Or
June
was
something.
it June or July? June. Yeah, June.
Like June 8th
I
or something.
said
I
dark.
think
12.
like June. I think like June 5th or something.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
No want to run the risk of jeopardizing work. So we all have to find our reasons.
I actually went to a clinic the other day and they were like, "Have you taken your vaccine?" Which I must say, I was very.
They're not hearing us. Hopefully, we'll sort
Oh.
it out sooner rather than later, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen.
our friends
In the
already.
meantime, I'm going to share with you.
We're hearing you guys, man. Don't worry.
Celebrate mom by giving her that special plan from Kim K Nursery. Gift certificate
Ooh.
also available. You can contact them at 736-3898. Good morning, Jade and the crew.
Good
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we have it sorted. Just to let you know that our special guest, Mr. Imran Khan, he is the Director of Communication in the Office of the Leader of the Opposition. He's a former Director of Communications in the Granger administration there in that country as well. I just want to say a special good morning to him. It's been a while. Imran Khan, good morning.
Good morning, Darren. Good morning to your colleagues and all your listeners. A pleasure to join you from a very sunny Guyana. I'm just on the outskirts of Georgetown. Pleasure to join you this morning.
It's a pleasure to have you. And well, I've already introduced them by name, Jade and her colleagues in St Kitts and Nevis. And I see, Kevon, you're having a sip of something in a mug. I hope it's tea and not coffee, because the name of your program is Island Tea, right? So you're supposed to be having tea. Yeah, Kevon?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Anyway, how are y'all doing this morning?
We're doing good. You know,
Right.
can't complain, I guess.
All right.
Good.
understood.
Everybody good on this side.
Everybody's good on this. Everybody's always good on that side. So I don't know why I'm even bothering to ask.
Yeah,
But
man.
I'll
We live
tell
in
you
St.
what.
Kitts, you know.
Yes, all right. We're not going on that word this morning. We're going to allow Mr. Khan to tell us what's happening over in Guyana. Well, something that caught my attention, the rise of, and this is an article actually from one of the news sources, News Source GY, which I guess is the website, the rise of PPP tyranny and authoritarianism in Guyana. And this seems to be a bit of a drumbeat Imran Khan, coming out of Guyana, certainly for those forces that are aligned with the opposition, they really are concerned about what they consider to be actions taken by the administration that seem to harken back to a dark period in Guyana's history. What's your take? Well, first of all, tell us what's happening, and then we'll take the discussion from there.
Sure, Darren. Thank you for the opportunity. Obviously, Guyana, generally speaking, ought to be at a place where we are really optimistic and hopeful about the future, in spite of the fact that we too are battling a global pandemic that seems very, very difficult for us all across the world to shrug off. I'm sure you and your colleagues and listeners are aware that Guyana, just around 2015, discovered a huge deposit of oil and gas offshore, and ExxonMobil has been at the forefront of exploiting that, and we have started to produce oil. So obviously, we are one of the hottest investment spots around the world, and Exxon is continuing to press ahead with their work in association with their partners Hess and a Chinese company called CNOOC. Recently, what we have seen is they had been working with a target of producing 120,000 barrels of oil per day. They were hitting that target, but recently we have seen them dramatically and significantly reduce their production from 120,000 barrels a day to 30,000 barrels a day. That's a huge reduction. It's basically at bare minimum. They have recently indicated that they are looking to working their way back up to 120,000. The main reason for that reduction is because of an issue called flaring. The equipment that they have had to reduce flaring while they produce the gas has malfunctioned, and they've had a very difficult time in getting that equipment up. So there are a lot of very technical issues related to the oil and gas industry there, but that is a huge blow for the country for production to have dropped that significantly with no, at this point, definitive time frame as to when it will get back up to 120,000 barrels, which would be the desirable target for them to hit on a daily basis. And then, of course, they are planning to increase that to double that in the coming months and years. So a huge setback in that regard. With regard to the issue that you highlighted, we are very, very concerned, not only the opposition in Guyana, but certainly citizens on a whole. A number of civil society organizations have spoken out about it. It is a situation that we saw recently, yesterday, as recent as yesterday, where an independent talk show host, who is generally supportive of the opposition, one must say, was part of a protest in Georgetown, and the police turned up very suddenly and arrested him and took him down to the police station and charged him. Essentially, what he's been charged with is under the new Cybercrime Act, and it was explained and read to him by one of the police officers that he was being arrested under those laws for causing emotional distress to a minister, and that obviously has outraged the nation because it is being seen as trumped up and a misuse and abuse of the laws. This guy, his name is Gavin Matthews. He hosts a talk show on Facebook, online show. I believe he does it on a daily basis. He seems to have quite a bit of a following. And apparently he said something on one of his programs sometime last month, about a month ago, that the minister, whose name is Charles Ramson Jr., has complained to the police, and he has been arrested for causing that minister what is being deemed as emotional distress. So it certainly is, and that is why I believe you read that headline that read something about tyranny and authoritarianism in Guyana. The issue, though, is that it is not a one-off situation. It is not an isolated incident. Since the PPP regime came into office around August last year, we have seen some acts, a pattern of behavior that has really caused a lot of outrage and concern and consternation across the nation. A lot of this has to do with political persecution of the opposition, but a lot of it has to do even more so with the persecution of Black people in Guyana. We have seen the dismissal, arbitrary in almost all instances, of about 2,000 Black public servants, many of whom are women, and many of those women are actually the lone breadwinner of their households. We have seen political persecution, trumped up charges against a number of members of the opposition, including the opposition chief whip, including the chairman of the main opposition party, the opposition chief whip being Christopher Jones. His house raided, his family, his wife and young children traumatized, house raided by police with huge guns in the night, the police refusing to obey a court order, barring them from searching his home, all for very arbitrary reasons. The reason given for searching his home is that they were looking for state assets, even though the assets that he had within his home, some barber chairs, he had all the relevant documentation and receipts for. We have seen a number of other political opponents being targeted, being persecuted, being charged, being hauled before the courts, being detained, being questioned. And this pattern of behavior has been intensifying since August 2020, and it has gotten to a stage now where the Cybercrimes Act is being used to arrest and apparently charge persons for what is being called emotional distress and causing emotional distress to members of the government. So we are at a stage where we are descending into considerable darkness, and people are worried that democracy is under serious attack in Guyana because of the behavior of the government. I'll leave it there for this moment.
All right.
So, Mr. Ken,
Kevon, yeah, go ahead.
are you saying that it seems like the current sitting office is colluding with the police and there's some type of corruption happening?
Well, it is clear to many persons that the police force is being clearly politically directed. We believe that the police force has been terribly politicized and weaponized against not only the opposition, but persons who are seen to be critics of the government or people who are not necessarily aligned with the government. This is particularly sad because we did see this before 2015 when there was a change in government, and over the past 5 years between 2015 to 2020, the nation saw in a very visible and I would say potent way that the police force began to act very independently. I wouldn't say that they were perfect in what they were doing, but there were considerable improvements between 2015 and 2020 with regard to the independence of the police force and them operating professionally. They certainly had tremendous opportunities be in training for senior and junior officers, both in Guyana and overseas, something that did not obtain in a significant way prior to 2015, with a lot of opportunities being denied many officers for training. In fact, one officer was terminated for pursuing higher education, and that officer since returned and has taken up a senior position in the force and has been progressing professionally. So there has been a significant and dramatic departure from that progressive approach and pattern that had taken place between 2015 to 2020, and we have seen a reversal and reverting to what obtained prior to 2015, which is a serious politicization and weaponization of the police force against members of the public, particularly the political opposition. So the answer to your question in one word is absolutely yes.
All right. You mentioned or hinted that some of the persecution that is being perceived, it also seems to be persecuted against persons along ethnic lines. I know Guyana is a somewhat ethnic diverse community and country. Does these ethnic lines cross over into the political parties? Is there overlap there?
Yes, I'm sure your listeners know that there are two main ethnic groups. We have 6 ethnic groups officially in Guyana. There are 2 main ethnic groups, the Indo-Guyanese and the Afro-Guyanese. And also those sort of generally align with the major political parties. The PPP, which is in government at the moment, after elections in 2020 that we believe have not been credible. Their main support base are Indo-Guyanese persons, and of those persons, they're considered to be mostly rural and from what is called the sugar belt. So they're either directly employed or connected to the sugar industry. And the supporters of what is now the main opposition party, the PNC, which is one party within a coalition called the APNU AFC, which has about 5 or 6 political parties in total. The PNC's main support base is Afro-Guyanese, Black Guyanese, mainly in the urban centers of Georgetown, the capital city, New Amsterdam, a city in Berbice to the east of the country, and Linden, which is in Region 10, going towards the hinterland. So those are the main political / ethnic blocks. And yes, the ethnic blocks are more politically aligned to one party or the other, as I have explained. So the political persecution is political, but it is also very much ethnic based on what we are seeing, the evidence of what we're seeing. It would be important for me to mention as well, just to add greater clarity, that Guyana is considered to be politically polarized because of what I've just explained. But in the previous PPP administration at the turn of the century, during the 2008, 9, 10 period, during that time there was what was called a phantom squad in Guyana. And this was a very secretive unit of people, apparently made up of former military and police officers, that was privately funded and privately equipped by a gentleman who was at the time a well-known drug lord. And he has said this very publicly after his incarceration in the US. He's now back in Guyana, that he controlled that squad on behalf of the then PPP government that was trying to control crime, but for some reason or the other, which has not yet been explained, decided to do that with this setting up of what is like a private army rather than using the police force and the Guyana Defense Force. During that period of this phantom squad reign in Guyana, many young black men, as many as 1,400, the figure varies from between 400 to 1,400, depending on who you believe and what lists you find more credible. But certainly the numbers are in the several hundreds, between 400 and 1,400, as I've said, persons, young black men who would have gone missing, just gone missing, picked up and never seen again during that period. So there is not just recent history to what I'm explaining, but certainly a long-standing history of attack on Black people in Guyana while the PPP has been in government. And this is not an issue that can be debated or denied. It is unequivocal, it is absolute, it is fact that Black persons have been under considerable and tremendous attack when the PPP has been in government, whether they see it directly as an attack that is ethnic based or that is politically based and coincides along ethnic lines. We have seen as well during the PPP term that the public servants, the vast majority of whom are Black Guyanese, have been refused any significant increases in salaries. Salary increases used to be very, very minimal and negligible whenever they came along. That changed dramatically in 2015 when the government was changed and APNU AFC became the government. There was an increase of minimum wage from just about 39,000 Guyana dollars to 70,000, almost double the increase. And there were salary increases between that period of a totaling over 70%. So there were significant salary increases on an annual basis. At the same time, what you had were billions and billions of dollars being invested into the sugar industry, the majority of the workers being Indo-Guyanese, benefiting from those disbursements from the National Treasury to the sugar industry for the benefit of the Indo-Guyanese workers. Recently, what we've seen is that the sugar industry was given $200 million in one recent disbursement for salaries and wages so that the workers can benefit. But there has been no increase, even though there have been promises, there have been no increases to salaries and remuneration for public servants. So you see the disparity that has been happening with regard to the treatment of people in Guyana along ethnic lines.
Wow, it's sad. Kevon?
Yeah. I I have a question for him. How would you rate the new government's performance?
That's an interesting question, Kevon. It's been about 8 months now since the new government has been in office. As I mentioned, we have very, very serious issues. We actually have 2 elections petitions that are before the courts. In the first instance, before the Chief Justice, one petition was dismissed, was not heard, and the other one was ruled on Monday of this week, and the Chief Justice dismissed that petition. But we are appealing both of those in the Court of Appeal, and they will go all the way to the CCJ by way of appeal either way. So I just need to set this in perspective that we believe that the elections of March 2020 were not credible at all. We believe that there were serious issues with those elections, and we do not believe that the PPP is a legitimate government. We believe that they have been installed in collusion with foreign forces who have, as I explained at the very outset, a very deep interest in what is happening in Guyana, big multinational interest. We believe that they are not legitimately in place. So it is very clear for us to start from that perspective, and they are being legally and politically challenged in that regard. And they're very, very cognizant of this. In terms of their performance, it would be very difficult to say that they have gotten anything like a passing grade. We have tremendous difficulties in the management of the spread of COVID-19. Our death toll is increasing on a day-to-day basis. The hospitals are overflowing with patients. There is no serious application of measures to deal with the spread of COVID. Not only deaths have been spiraling out of control, but also the confirmed cases. As you know, we share a border with Brazil, where the situation in the part of Brazil that is close to our border, northern Brazil, has been out of control, and the measures put in place to restrict travel and screen persons coming over from Brazil have been considered to be very weak. We have a situation where the many persons are crying out that they are going to medical facilities, hospitals, and medical outposts, and they are not getting medicine. There's a shortage of medicine in the health sector. We have seen an increase in crime in all levels. Recently, we had a person I mentioned, one of the drug dealers who was convicted in the US and is now back in Guyana. He was at one of the nightclubs, and an associate of his walked towards his vehicle to pull it up for him to leave and was gunned down in heavy gunfire. All of it was caught on camera. Those persons have not yet been brought before the courts, and nobody has been charged. We had two young men in the West Berbice area, two young black men who went into the what we call the back dams, the rice field areas, and were brutally murdered. X's were cut into their heads, and this happened in September of last year. Several months passed, no one was charged. Some persons were picked up and charged who were considered not to be knowledgeable of or having any connection to the crime, and it seems as though that they're being charged just to protect the people who actually committed the crime. So there are a number of things that are happening in Guyana. As I mentioned, I may have mentioned earlier, there are a number of protests by the sugar workers. We have an ongoing protest by the nurses and other workers who are complaining that they need the power company workers have been on strike recently, complaining that they need a salary increase that is not being given to them, even though the directors of that power company, the Guyana Power and Light, have been purchasing brand new vehicles for themselves. And funny enough, those vehicles have been purchased from a company which is the same company that the chairman of the power company is also the CEO of this distribution company, Kia Motors in Guyana. So a lot of issues that are really coming from all quarters. We have a scandal that is of a magnitude of 600 million Guyana dollars involving the Guyana Oil and Gas Company. So to grade the government, I don't want to say it would be an F, because you will say that I'm only saying that because I'm the director of communication in the office of the leader of the opposition. But really and truly, objectively, it would be very, very difficult for the government to make a case that they have been a credible government, or they have been a caring government, or they have been a government that has been in any way managing the country on behalf of all Guyanese. That would be very, very difficult to say at this point.
Wow, there's quite a lot of information there, at least certainly from your perspective, Mr. Khan. We just have a few minutes to go. I don't know if my colleagues in St. Kitts have a final question for you before we move to wrap
I'm
up.
stunned, so I don't think.
No, it's just a lot to digest.
That's a lot.
It's a lot to digest, Mr. Khan, I must admit.
It is, and I know it may have come because of all of the issues that I've mentioned. It may have come quite as a surprise. You don't expect that these things are happening all at once in a country, but the situation is of such that, and everything that I've said is verifiable. The situation that is of such that we actually had to create a dossier of what has happened between August 2nd, 2020 and to date. And we've been providing that dossier to the United Nations, Amnesty International, foreign governments, the United States and other governments, and CARICOM. And we've been writing to them and communicating with them on a very regular basis and updating them of what is going on. They as well have been paying a keen interest and have been very, very concerned about what is happening in Guyana, including the chairman of CARICOM, Dr. Keith Rowley of Trinidad, so Trinidad and Tobago. So it's very important for us to share with our CARICOM brothers and sisters who may not always be attuned to what is happening here because of a number of factors. You're dealing with your own issues regarding COVID-19 and the severe impact that it has had on your tourism industry, which is your bread and butter industry. We've seen what has happened with our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent with La Soufriere and the effects that that has had on St. Vincent and Barbados as well. So we know that people across the CARICOM and Caribbean region are dealing with their own issues. So we're thankful for these kinds of opportunities to share what is happening in Guyana, which always doesn't make the headline news in your respective countries. But we are going through some very, very difficult times beyond COVID, which has just complicated the situation so much more for us and has caused tremendous distress and difficulties for people in Guyana, particularly people associated with the opposition, but generally the entire populace of Guyana, and particularly Black people for the reasons that I've outlined.
Right. Mr. Khan, just before I go, do you feel any differently or do you feel special having, sharing a name with the president, or should I say the Prime Minister of Pakistan and former Pakistan cricket captain Imran Khan?
I think that's a good light note to end on after all the heavy information that we've just gone through. I actually have been named after him.
Okay.
I was named by my grandfather. I'll date myself. I was born in the late 70s, so my grandfather at that time was very fond of him, and our surname being Khan, I think it was a natural thing for him to do. I'll tell you a funny story. You probably know that I worked for many years with the West Indies team as the media manager. I was based in Antigua, of course, Darren, for a number of years, where we met and had a lot of good times.
Yes.
But you know that Pakistan international cricket in Pakistan has not been played for a long time. After I believe it was around 2009, when the Sri Lankan team came under attack. The Sri Lankan team bus came under attack, but the West Indies team went to Pakistan before that. And of course, when the team lists were presented to the hotels, they would see Imran Khan as part of the West Indies team. And the hotel managers would automatically make an assumption. And then there would be a lot of scrambling at the front desk when I would check in, but it would be too late. So I did benefit a lot from a number of very much luxury suites at hotels in Pakistan for several months when we were on tour there. So I'm very grateful for that name association. But being involved in cricket for so many years, it was a natural and at times funny mistake that persons made, assuming that it was an Imran Khan, that it wasn't.
Right.
So it's one time I recall being placed in business class on a Caribbean Airlines flight from Jamaica going somewhere in the Caribbean, and they were all the people in business class were former great West Indies and international cricketers, Jeff Thompson, and a number of West Indian greats, and myself. It was an enjoyable ride for a few hours.
Absolutely.
Just because they thought that the person was Imran Khan, the former legendary great Pakistani all-rounder and captain, World Cup winning captain, and now Prime Minister.
Indeed, with his hands full with that situation there in Pakistan.
Absolutely, difficult times in Pakistan as well.
Yep. All right, Imran Khan, great. Thank you so much. A fantastic discussion, albeit difficult topics and very sad situations and circumstances in Guyana. But I really want to thank you for carving out some time. I know you're very busy, but thanks for carving out some time to share with us this morning your perspective on what's taking place in your beloved homeland of Guyana.
Thank you very much, Darren, for the opportunity.
You're very welcome.
I look forward to joining you in future as well, and it does pain me to have to bring you these kinds of reports, but I hope it can improve in the future.
I hope so too. Thank you very much. Director of Communication in the Office of the Leader of the Opposition in the People's Cooperative Republic of Guyana, given the correct title, handle. Thank you so much, Imran Khan.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Blessings. Thank you so much, Jade and Kevon. And Azem was quiet today. No, Azem did throw in a question. So thank you so much. And Kevon, you're going to tell me what you're drinking. You're still drinking. What are you drinking before we go? Or I can't say it on air. Is it the tea that's made from a certain plant? Maybe, Kevon? Is that why you don't want to tell us?
No, it's coffee. It's coffee.
It's coffee. All right. No, there's no shame in saying you're drinking coffee on island tea. That's okay. You can call it island coffee sometimes too. Anyway, listen.
Come off me though.
All right, I'm gone. Thank you very much. It was fun, as always.
All right.
Have a great weekend, folks. Have a great weekend. And hey, it's a holiday on Monday here in Antigua, just so you know.
Yeah.
We have one
Yeah, it's a holiday here as well.
Yeah, it's here too. I think it's Caribbean wide actually.
All right, come on.
think so.
I really should have come off your show. You're obviously being sarcastic. See?
I genuinely think it's Caribbean wide. The holiday on Monday.
I thought you were ribbing me by saying the Caribbean. But anyway, that's okay. It's great talking to you and great having that interview. That was quite a mind-blowing discussion.
Yeah, very heavy.
It was.
Yeah.
Boy. All right, take care.
All right.
We'll talk again soon.
Awesome. So that was your Friday edition of Cross Caribbean Link Up, and phew.
Boy, oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was something.
Yeah, it's one of them things like
Mix up again.
yeah, and like he alluded to, it's so funny that we have so many Guyanese citizens who migrate and live in some of these countries, even right here in the Federation. But, the news from the country doesn't really make headlines here. I managed to know about some of it because of Guyanese friends on social media. So, following them and seeing what was happening. Yeah, it's kind of intense. As a matter of fact, I remember when he mentioned the Phantom Squad, I remember the alleged drug dealer that he was referring to, and it's the situation that happened a few weeks ago, and that brought up talks again of the whole Phantom Squad thing, and I was like, wow, we don't even understand how tense it is.
About that was.
Yeah, it feels very, and the thing about it for me is that it feels very similar to some of the gripes, some of the complaints, some of the issues that we've been hearing coming out of Haiti as well recently.
Yeah.
And
I think just last night I read something about, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it had something to do with Haiti and it wasn't good. I was like, darn, and just when we had some good news from Haiti yesterday, here comes this. What was it again? It had to do with either corona or, I think it was it was either an accident or something, but there was something that happened in Haiti where like 29 people died and some other people got injured. Yeah, I didn't want to add it. I said, well, not to this is. Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is that it's like, again, it's interesting what type of stories penetrate like mass media.
Yeah.
For instance, what's happening in the India situation now.
That one?
I was just about to mention it.
That is insane.
Is a crazy situation.
That is insane. It doesn't even seem to have a plan, a way out.
And it feels like it happened so suddenly. Like one day we were hearing about the rest of the world, and now the focus is on India and how.
Is it? That's what I'm saying. I don't think it is.
What? Yesterday when I was putting the show together, I passed like 6 different stories about India.
Yeah, I mean, I
just Googled COVID-19 and an article, 2 articles, 3 hours ago, 32 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's what I tell you. Before it wasn't in.
Yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't hearing anything about it in mass media.
It must be.
Yeah.
Is either.
It gotta be like this week, as.
Is either they just realized. Well, I don't think they just.
It's this week.
Yeah.
But something happened where India is now in the spotlight, and it's crazy. Like there's.
I think it's just been people just really clamoring for it on social media and kind of bringing it to the forefront in that way. Axeman, like they're having real issues dealing with the COVID outbreak. Over
Yeah.
there,
People are dying.
there's
And
there's been a serious spike in
yeah.
deaths.
most of the struggling countries, well, the top three struggling countries, the United States, India, and Brazil. However, nobody knew that India was struggling the way that they actually are. They
Yeah.
reported 300, almost 400,000 new cases at once.
Yeah.
Like
How do you even?
very
It
close
happened
to
like
half a
overnight.
million
Count
cases
that.
all at once.
But they were one of the countries that was seen as handling it. You know,
That's
and
what-
then
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
seemingly overnight is like just
That's
went
what I'm
downhill.
saying, because I feel like I used to see nothing about India having like this type of crisis. It used to be other countries,
Right.
and now it seems like it's out of control, where like people are just not even able to get help. The hospitals and everything is overwhelmed. People can't even bury their loved ones because
Well, one of
They're
the well, not don't even bother to talk about the funeral situation. They've been having these mass
Yeah.
funerals now.
a mass
So
funeral.
one of the
Yeah,
headlines
they've been having
from
mass
CNN,
funerals.
the headline from CNN literally is, as India's crematoriums overflow with COVID-19 victims, they are now burning pyres throughout the night.
That's
Yeah.
one of them
Basically,
that I saw.
Yeah.
That's one of them that I definitely saw.
Yeah.
So they're having like
So,
24-hour
but,
funerals.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
Just
24-hour
fire,
mass
just
funerals.
burning bodies everywhere. That's insane.
And one of the things a friend of mine from India posted was basically he was making the same plea for more of a spotlight to be put on it. 'Cause he was like, "That's like the country." In his words, the country is on the brink of collapse.
Yeah, somebody else is telling us that it's been all over the news in Canada for weeks. So
See,
much
that's what
so
I'm
that
saying.
last
I
week,
even- you
Canada
know what I even
stopped
saw?
all India flights.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
even saw that that the US were telling
Weeks.
people to get out of India if you're from the US, because the situation over there is dwindling
It's going downhill fast.
very fast, very fast.
yeah. So so like I'm saying, it's sometimes interesting the things that make headlines, the things that are deemed newsworthy. You know, so that is a crazy dynamic. That is why it's important for us to really, but at the same time, let's be honest. Like, the people would see me watching news and look at me weird
Why?
because I'm looking at the news.
So they don't want you to know what's
Yeah,
happening
so
in the
for
world?
me,
No,
right,
people don't.
I experienced the
Like,
same thing.
most
Like,
people
they'd rather
don't.
not
As I'm
know what's happening.
They don't care.
Yeah.
So
Like,
why
they-
you shouldn't care then?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm looked at as the weird one. They're like, you watching news?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like,
get
what
it
am I
because I remember the
What?
other day. So I have Apple News on my thing, which is basically like a timeline of all major news sources. So the New York Times, everybody. So I scroll and it has everything. You could choose what kind of updates you want, and I scroll it every day, multiple times a day. And somebody watched me and say, "You read the news?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "So what?
Look
You
at
don't read news?"
yeah.
It's weird that people don't. I don't know how they figure. Well, I guess they watch LNT to figure out what's happening
No, but
in the world.
Guess so.
people just don't
doing the Lord's
care.
work.
Like, let me not say they don't care. Let me say the priority for them.
I don't know if it's not caring.
I think some people actually don't, but I think for the
I don't
majority
think
of
they
people,
don't care.
the priority.
Well, that too, but I feel like people just don't like to read.
But if you don't even have to read the news. That's what I'm saying. There's news networks. There's literal news networks.
People read for you. You don't have to read.
Yeah.
You can just listen.
Mine has a voice option. You could get basically like a daily audio briefing of the day's news.
Yeah,
And it's like what, a minute long, 3 minutes long plus.
yeah, and not only that, like I'm saying, like I think it's a matter of priority. People spend a lot of time on their devices, but a lot of time doing what?
Nonsense.
So
And it's funny, right? Because even if let's say you are somebody that just scrolls social media all day, there you must come across.
no, Jade.
You don't think they will come across
No.
no type of news article?
No.
Jade, do you
No.
like we did this exercise
Remember-
right here on Island T when we looked at
Yeah,
each
we
other's
did.
Explorer page. Like,
Remember,
the
your
apps are going to
social
push to
media
you
is
based on what you use the
curated
apps
to
for.
you. If
So
I
there's
open my
yeah.
social media, I see dogs and houses and food.
Yeah, like you don't see like this. It's not like this. There's something going on, and unless it's a news app, there's a very high possibility that you will not be like news articles won't engage you on your social media.
Yeah, and the thing is, we have to acknowledge as well is that we also have to realize that about 80% of the that's I feel like that's a undervalued, a downplayed figure anyway. But about 80% of the news is missable. Like only certain things you just cannot escape, and you are bound to find out about it some way. But most of the news is just news that you could just goes right under the rug.
But let me ask you a question. I mean, I don't assume anybody else in here looks at like CNN on the TV, but somebody out there, please call and let me know what has happened to CNN and why all they play now is golf.
You know why?
Yeah.
I have the
It's
perfect
just
answer for
there's
that.
just golf all the time on
You know why?
CNN.
I've
Remember,
noticed that, which is very confusing.
I know. I actually know why. Remember, right? For the last 4 years, CNN had Trump to battle with. So they had Trump news daily. They had things that they could talk about daily because, you know, there was always something happening with him. Now we out to office, like there's not much they could talk about because Biden not really doing badly. Like Biden not out here embarrassing the US. So, you know, they need interesting. I don't know why golf is so interesting to them, but this is just my thoughts on this. I really feel it's because they lack that.
Somebody's echoing you on the live anyway. They're saying the same thing.
Yeah, I really think it's that because if you look, I used to love CNN right before Trump, and then I realized when Trump became president, like that's every single day, no matter what happening, that's all they focused on.
But it was hard not to, in a sense, because he himself would purposefully do things that would
force you to talk.
Yeah.
Exactly, but no, there's not. I mean, granted, they're a news station. They're supposed to be able to find things. If we could find things, I feel like they could find things.
I mean, the thing is, like they do talk about things, you know. Like it's just that for me, right?
Very
every like there's more golf than news.
Agreed. Because I don't really watch TV, but the few times that I've seen it on a TV, I've seen golf.
It's just golf,
and I'm not sure why. Well, I know why, but I'm confused as to why they chose to do golf when there's other things to talk about.
It has to be a sponsorship situation. It has
you
to be like
golf. You think
that would make sense.
Golf has sponsored CNN in a way that nothing else happens. That is
apparently.
Of import? Wow.
Well, maybe whoever has the golf interest, the golf lobby.
Golf lobby.
The golf lobby just decided like, hey, there's a lot of eyeballs here. Like
Really?
actually, I don't play golf, and I feel like I could go right now and like bogey every hole. Like the amount of golf tips that
you could be the next Tiger.
Like I literally just be walking and like swinging my hips, like practicing. I said, but I don't play golf. Why doing this?
The next Tiger.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. If this thing don't work out for us, we could fall back on your career. Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure. Oh, but bear in mind that I ran into, remember a few months ago we had some of our friends from the Gulf Association here come in and talk. They're like, oh, by the way, things ain't really that things change. Things actually get worse. And I was just like, oh, okay.
Well, so that means we need to have a follow-up.
A follow-up? Yeah, I hit them up.
Yeah.
I hit them up.
Wow.
Definitely a follow-up.
That is awful. That is worse, you said?
You see anybody playing in the Gulf?
I don't generally pay attention to golf, so I don't know.
Nobody does be over there. The only golf I see right now is on CNN.
Yeah.
Huge yikes.
Yeah, but...
Well, the CNN and Mark Brantley.
Oh, boy, drip. Yeah, I wonder what he's shooting right now.
We need to follow. We have so much people to follow up with, right? That is like, yeah.
We should make a list so we could actively go through it.
We should. We need to.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Jade, well, we saying we and I really.
And you mean Jade? I know. It's okay.
Yeah, because you're not doing it.
You know.
So.
It's okay. It's okay. I know who you meant when you said it.
But you guys, you feel like there is a way for us to, or there's do you guys have any news outlets that, in your opinion, really satisfy your need for some like diverse?
ABC.
ABC?
ABC?
ABC, CBS, I feel like they're very neutral in terms of they give me news. They do a lot of, I feel like the opinion-based news is kind of not that heavy there.
Okay, I got you. I hear you.
But let's be honest. Fox News is very, centered to supporting a lot of ideals. CNN supports a lot of ideals. I feel like ABC is a nice.
I can't do the Fox News.
We give you news and let you do what you want with it.
Yeah, like last night when I was putting the show together, like I just breezed past Fox News because I don't know. I feel like they have ruined their.
Fox News isn't a news outlet. That's my whole thing. They're not a news outlet.
Fox News.
They're a blog.
Apple don't sell apples. They couldn't call it anything,
Good point.
Like they could call it anything as far as I concerned. Fox News is a news outlet. But I like Al Jazeera. I watch it.
That's a good one too.
I pretty much
like
go to Al Jazeera. And especially like in terms of I used to be a BBC guy, but not so much.
I did BBC last night. All I saw was
used to like
things
BBC,
from India.
but lately BBC not
Literally
been impressing me.
Al Jazeera, and then I go to some of the newspapers like the Washington Post. Oh, I do like NPR. I do like NPR for US news.
Oh, Mr. Wan is saying those spots on CNN are meant to be filled by the local carrier.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, but still, why golf?
I also use routers. Routers is a good one for me too. I like routers sometimes.
Got you.
We said it. Send it in the chat. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Really? Honestly.
Yeah.
Truly.
But sometimes it's difficult to, especially, and the reason I like Al Jazeera too is like you get like the worldwide news is a little more, like for me it's a little more. Yeah, I get more
Spicy.
African news and Middle Eastern news and stuff like that. Yeah.
Spicy.
This is spicy.
Al Jazeera, they're gonna call it like it is one thing though, and that's what I loved about them. They will call it as it is. They're not gonna jazz it up or anything. They're gonna state it and give you all the facts.
Yeah, in terms of the smaller independent networks and stations are like I said, like NPR, but at the same time, the ones who you can't do without is I can't do without Vice. I have an addiction to Vice. Vice
is fun.
Vice documentaries.
Oh, Vice is wild. Vice is wild.
Vice special.
Yeah. Oh boy, Vice. It's diverse, and you never know what you're gonna watch. Like one day you would be watching about some girls in like one country that's doing great things, and next thing you know, they're telling you about this drug dealer in the outskirts of some weird country that you never heard about. Doing some odd things that they probably shouldn't be doing. Vice, you never know where you're going to get.
I wonder how did they get some of them interviews. Like, they're literally talking to the Taliban. They were talking to the Taliban leaders like last week.
I said, one time I was watching, I said, how do you even find these people? And then how do you even agree to do these interviews?
Actually, if you're a terrorist, how you decide who to kidnap and keep for 2 years? That's what I want to know. Like, how you decide who you're going to kidnap and lock in a detention camp for like 6 years with no food and water?
I just wanted to know, like,
if I was talking to a terrorist, that's like one of the first questions because I need to know if I meet the criteria.
I just about to say, you're coming on that interview, man.
Like,
hey guys, last interview for sure.
Hey guys, by the way, you guys gonna detain me after this, so I could go home?
Probably. Probably. I mean, I would.
You detain me, Jade?
Yeah, because I feel like use the ops. Asking me them kind of questions.
Let me go pull my blicky out.
Knowing that I into this thing. I would think you're the ops. But anyway, Azem and Kevon, it is time for us to take a very quick break because we have to come back in with some conversation from the Inland Revenue Department. Let's see what they have for us today. You excited? I hope they're telling us that the website. Anyway, we're going to wait till
let's wait and see what they have.
I want.
Oh my gosh.
I want my app.
Well, we know maybe that's what they're coming to tell us. Maybe the app is up and running. So.
Well, if you're listening in advance, it better be. So.
Yeah, but guys, we'll be right back with more Island Tea.
Or sunshine, or how the bright Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
It's April Tools Month again at Horsford's Building Center on St Kitts and Nevis. Don't miss out on the year's best time to buy tools. Get 25% off on selected tools store-wide. Hundreds of tools on sale, slash by 25%. 25% off on tools for this April Tools Month at Horsford's Building Center on St Kitts and Nevis. The promotion ends April 30th. Horsford's Building Center, the Federation's favorite home improvement store. Some exclusions apply. See stores for details.
Hold on, stop. Think about the drink before you take a drop. Read up on the label on the back. They say science sugar low and fat, but don't be fooled by that. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody, hey.
This message is brought to you by Lake Health and Wellbeing.
Protect yourself from the novel coronavirus. Wash your hands thoroughly and frequently for at least 20 seconds each time. Avoid shaking hands and touching your face with unclean hands. If you have to cough or sneeze, do so into your flexed elbow or a paper towel and then dispose of it. Keep a distance of 3 feet away from anyone with the cold or flu-like symptoms. Boost your immune system with vitamins, drink plenty of water, and get adequate rest. Visit your doctor, the nearest hospital, or health center if you or a family member becomes ill. A message from the Ministry of Health and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA.
Welcome back to Welcome back. Are we back? Yes. Welcome back to Island Tea with your faves. And it is now time to jump into conversation with our lovely friends from Inland Revenue Department. We serve.
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good morning. Very well, so.
Good morning. Doing fine.
All right, awesome. So what's going on down at the Inland Revenue Department?
Well, let me just introduce myself for the radio line. My name is Junior Herbert. I'm a senior tax inspector within the small debt management and filing compliance unit.
Hi, good morning to everyone in Radio Land. My name is Jason Christopher, and I'm with the debt management unit within Inland Revenue Department.
All right.
Now, today's topic, we would like to share a little information as it relates to filing as related to taxpayers. One of the things we really want to let the people know out there is that every business entity Whether it's small, large, part-time, you're actually required to, file a tax return by law. I know a lot of persons might say, oh, okay, what, I'm not operating, yes, but are you operating legally? I mean, one of the things we really would like them to know that once you have a business license and you actually register for a particular tax type, you are required by law to file that tax return. So it's just a little emphasis on that, because as I say, we were speaking today about the filing element. I mean, I know from time to time we have our colleagues came in and they speak about the business registration and the business and occupation license likewise. So two things in mind that we would like the taxpayers to really pay particular attention to is the tax type that you're registered with, and at the same time the filing due dates. Typical example, taxpayers who are incorporated must file their corporate income tax return with financial statements annually. Companies are due to file no later than 3.5 months after their fiscal year end. So in essence, we're saying that there's a basic fiscal year end which runs from January to December. And after that end of that fiscal year end, you have up until April 15th to file that tax return along with your financial statements. I know that in some instances, there's other companies that have we call it a funny fiscal year end. It's different from the basic fiscal year end, but it still remains the same, 3.5 months after. So we just want to make sure you're keen on that, and that is relating to those persons who are registered for company. And at the same time, for those who are registered for VAT, you must file your tax returns monthly, 15 days after the end of each calendar month. And you have to remember, 15 days after, and you have to understand there are penalties for not simply filing. And for those taxpayers who actually file quarterly, we have unincorporated business tax, we have withholding tax, we have island enhancement fund. You're required to file 15 days of the months of March, June, September, and December each calendar year. So we just would like to reach out again, have those dates in mind at the same time, and then remember in terms of your tax type that you're registered for. So it's really important. So could never stress even more on it, because I know, at Inland Revenue, we find it we're having some difficulties in terms of, people not filing on time and even not filing at all. So whether or not you actually file, whether or not you actually, conducting business, I mean, you're still required to file that tax return. I mean, if you have let's put it that way, if you have a non-activity where you find, okay, you're not conducting any business at for whatever reason, then we're saying that you could come to the Inland Revenue, or you could communicate with the Inland Revenue. So in essence, we could actually give you an inactivity period based on the circumstances. So,
Okay. Let me just reinforce what Mr. Herbert was just saying. Basically, we're saying that if you're registered with the Inland Revenue Department as a taxpayer, you are required to file. One of your obligations is filing, and there are a number of taxes that comes with filing. So if you're registered for corporate income tax, VAT, withholding tax, environmental levy, any tax that you're registered to file with the Inland Revenue Department, it is your obligation as a taxpayer to file it. And he mentioned that there are different, depending on the tax type. For example, the corporate income tax is 1 year. The period is 1 year. So after 1 year, you have 3.5 months after the end of that year to file your tax return and financial statement. For unincorporated business tax, those will be filed by what you call sole traders, partnerships, depending on how the company is structured. You would file those quarterly, and that would be 15 days after the end of the quarter. And we have the monthly tax for VAT, which is 15 days after the end of the period or after the end of the month. So let's say your month ended in March, you have the 15th of April to file your tax return. The month ended April, you have the 15th of May to file your tax return. If the 15th falls on a weekend or a holiday, then you file the next working day. We also wanted to speak about if you do not file. The whole idea of this, of us coming here, is just to try to improve compliance. We have been experiencing from the Inland Revenue Department. We have a lot of taxpayers that are not compliant, and we are trying to boost the compliance part of it. Get taxpayers on board and actually try to tell them about their their obligations, which includes filing and a number of other obligations such as paying, and even registration is we having issues with where persons are conducting businesses and are not properly registered with the Inland Revenue Department. But today we are here to speak about filing, and some of the penalties for not filing we will speak about right now. Junior, you want to tell them about the penalties for not filing?
I was actually about to ask that what were some of the consequences of some of the non-compliance.
Yes.
Okay. A person who fails to file the tax return on or before the due date by which filing is required is liable to a penalty equal to 5% of the amount of tax owing. And then there's $100 per month or part thereof during which failure to file continues.
Yeah, so basically what we're saying, like if you have tax, if you do not file, you have, and you do file, let's say you're supposed to file the 15th, but you don't file the 15th of April. But then you eventually, after numerous letters from the Inland Revenue Department or calls or contacts, us running you down trying to get you to file, and you do file, let's say you file in August, right? And there was a tax amount outstanding at that time. Based on your assessment, the return that you submitted, then there would be a penalty, a late filing penalty of 5% of that amount that you were supposed to pay. And in addition to that, there would be $100 per month. So if you were required to file in April, you have May, June, July, August. That's 4 months where you would have attracted $100 each month until you file the return.
Yes, and in addition, we have those companies that who are on tax holidays and probably have a tax exempt status. We are saying that yes, you may not in a position to pay tax, but you're still required to file the financial statements. And then if you fail to file those financial statements, then you have a penalty of $1,000. So those are those taxpayers who are on tax holidays or have an exempt status.
You wanted to know what were the additional penalty for not filing is that we can also take you to court, commence criminal proceedings against you for not filing. Court proceedings. We have other enforcement actions that we do, which is we could also publish your name in a newspaper circulating St Kitts and Nevis. One of the things that we do in addition to that, if you don't file, because filing is to file to say how much taxes you're supposed to pay. And if you don't file after we've been trying to running you behind you to get you to file, because what we do is we send you letters. We have to do our due diligence where we contact you, we call you, we would write to you.
So it's not a matter of like hard and fast, like you slip up and then we hit you over the head with a sledgehammer.
No, it's a process that we go through. The first thing that we would do is just to make sure that if you didn't file, we print a list of non-compliant taxpayers, and if you're on that list, we're gonna call you, and we're gonna ask you, because sometimes it's a genuine, it's some sort of genuine reason why the taxpayer may not have filed. Let's say, for example, the system crashed, or they had a break-in on the weekend, and their records was somehow destroyed or lost or difficult to retrieve at the time. Then there are certain circumstances, or they might have had an emergency over the weekend and they had to fly out, or somebody for them had to fly out, and different reasons. So then we will want to establish what was the reason for them not filing, and we'll ask them to file.
So the Inland Revenue Department works along with the taxpayers to ensure compliance, not necessarily to punish them for non-compliance.
No, not necessarily to do that, because, like I said, our first option is to get them to voluntarily comply. Definitely.
So people shouldn't feel intimidated to come in and even have a conversation with you guys. When you see the taxman call, don't hesitate to pick up the call.
No, don't hesitate. And don't hesitate to open the letters when you see us sending you letters regarding, because I know I've heard taxpayers say, oh, they just straight down in a corner or whatever. That's the impression that we get at Inland Revenue as well too, because we would be calling, we would send out letters, and in a lot of cases the response is not welcoming, like it's not like they're glad to hear from the taxman, you know what I mean? Even though they know that they're not complying with what they are to be doing, and so. But like I was saying, our first in the first instance, we're trying to get them to voluntarily comply, and the way we do so is by calling, contacting them through letters, emails. We'll even visit the business and try to speak to the owner to ascertain exactly what the problem is in terms of why they didn't file. They might have a legitimate reason why they didn't file. And in cases where companies feel they have a legitimate reason not to file, or why they can't file, the legislation provides for them to request an extension of the filing date. So let's say the due date is the 15th of April, they can request an extension to the next month, the 15th of the next month, the following month, or even an extended period. Once they could show us, well, okay, the reason why we can't file until this time is because we have this, whatever the reason is.
So the legislation provides some wiggle room.
Yes, and if we find it justifiable, then we may.
It's all built around communication.
Yes, like I said, and the legislation also supports it. So if you know you're not able to file by the due date, you have up until that due date to request an extension to file. But we also want to remind taxpayers that an extension to file is not automatically an extension to pay. So you would also have to request an extension to pay, or pay the amount an estimated amount, just to avoid penalties in regards to payment, because there's also penalties for not paying on time, for late payment. Okay? You have anything else to add, Junior? That's it in terms of what we can do if you do not file, when you're required to file, in terms of the penalties, and in terms of us taking you to court, in terms of us being able to publish your names in newspaper. One of the other things that we do as an Inland Revenue Department, though, to safeguard the revenue, what we do is, because it's an assessment of the tax that you ought to pay, if within a certain period or after a certain time you do not file, then we at Inland Revenue is going to raise a best judgment assessment. So what we do is that we would look at either previous filings or filings done by a company in the similar business that you're into, of similar size and everything, and we would come up with an assessment and say, okay, this is the tax that we assess that you should be paying for the period, and then we would pursue you as a taxpayer for that amount as a collection case, just to preserve the revenue, the government revenue.
Indeed. Understood.
Okay. The other thing about filing, for a taxpayer to be able to file their tax returns at the end of the period, they must be keeping proper records. They are required by law to keep proper records, records of all the transactions in terms of sales and purchases or expenses. If they don't keep proper records, then that can also be in contravention of the laws, and they can be fined or even taken to court. But let me just say that even though the legislation requires them to keep records, it's not all in the benefit of us as tax collectors or as tax administration. It's the benefit is for the business as well, because when you keep proper records, you know exactly how the business is performing. If you, let's say for example, you're into selling goods, and you purchase all these things to sell your goods, and at the end of the day you have sales and you don't know how much how much you sold or how much you paid for the goods or anything like that. You don't have the records to show, okay, right, this is a vibrant business, but this one ain't selling too good, so I have to drop this product. This one doing good, so I have to buy more. So it helps the businesses to be more informed about what's going on with the business. So keeping records is not just for tax purposes, but it also benefits the business. If you have employees, you could spot if anything slipping through the cracks and so forth, But that's basically it. So you wanted to say something? I see you raising your hand.
Yes, yes. So as my colleague just explained it, I mean, he mentioned a lot, and I would just like to reemphasize that it's a simple process. I mean, it's self-assessment. We're expecting you that. I mean, if you're conducting business, you just simply file. Just note your due date based on your tax type, and you just simply file the form. I mean, as you mentioned before, if you really don't, I mean, if you have a perfect excuse, or if, you had any delays or anything like that, you could still communicate with the department. I mean, we're here. I mean, we're providing a service. I mean, and we're here to help you. So we're simply saying, just simply file. I mean, if you're conducting business, as I said, if you're not conducting business, just communicate and indicate to the department. So at least we know that for that particular period, if you didn't operate, then, based on the circumstance, the Inland Revenue Department could just simply give an inactivity period for that period, in question. So it's self-assessment. So simply file and just contribute to nation building, So, but at this point in time, if we have any callers and who wish to have a question, answer or anything like that, they could do so. Feel free to call in.
Yeah, one of the things that we want to promote as well is our e-services. We want to make sure that taxpayers are aware of it and they're utilizing the service, because it eliminates a lot of the lining up, standing in lines, and especially now during the COVID COVID pandemic, it's easier for you to and the protocols in place in terms of social distancing, 6 feet apart. The lines long from inside to all the way down by 4th Street sometimes. So to avoid all of that, utilize our online services to file your tax return. So in a nutshell, though, if we are to recap, Junior, want to recap, or you want me to do it? Okay, if we were to recap the whole thing, let's start from the beginning. For one, the taxpayers have an obligation, as long as you're registered with Inland Revenue, you have an obligation to file a tax return, be it if it's corporate income tax or unincorporated business tax, or VAT or withholding tax. Any of these taxes or any tax that you've been registered to file with the Inland Revenue Department. These taxes have due dates. For corporate income tax, it's 1 year. 4 months after the year, so 1 year, the tax period is 1 year. 3 months and a half after the end of the tax year. For unincorporated business tax, you file quarterly, and it's 15 days after the end of the quarter. For VAT, it's 1 month, and it's 15 days after the end of the month. There are penalties that will be applied if you do not file your tax return by the due dates. If you cannot file your tax return by the due date, you can request an extension of the time to file. You're also reminded that you're required to keep proper records of all your purchases, records of all your expenses. And we emphasize that we would like to encourage all the taxpayers to utilize our online services. And that's basically it about filing, if we are in a nutshell.
Well, guys, I think that a lot of people, needed this information, and it's really interesting to hear, because sometimes we hear about the tax man, we hear about inland revenue, and there's this fear for some people because they feel a non-compliance is an automatic death sentence. But it's good to know that there's ways and means to deal with you guys in a way that is best. And one of the points that you made that I think a lot of people overlook is the fact that filing your financial records and stuff like that also goes a long way in you recognizing the viability of the business, if it's profitable, if there's changes that needs to be made. So I think that's something that, I never even really considered it from that standpoint. So, hopefully all your business owners out there, are compliant. What the junior say? He said contributing to nation building.
Nation building, that's right.
I like that. I like that. But yeah, guys, if there's anything else you want to say quickly, if not, then I guess we could wrap it up.
Yeah, well, we will appreciate if we had 1 or 2 callers, but if that's not the case, then we still want to emphasize this. It's self-assessment. The onus is on you, being the taxpayer. As I say, we all do have that responsibility. So we just encourage you to do the right thing and just communicate and file, and as I say, contribute to nation building.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming again. This has been Espresso with our friends down at Inland Revenue Department. Jade, I hope you're compliant here.
Always.
I think what's up? She has a. What do we call your business, Jade? I don't think they have like pimping as one of the categories.
Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a short break and be right back here on Island Tea. Stay tuned.
Hey, Dad, want a race?
Well, let's see who's trying to keep up with who today.
Oh, 'cause you need a head start?
I'm already way ahead of you, son.
Keep up with what matters. Joint Care supplements your active lifestyle by supporting your bones, cartilage, muscles with essential nutrients. Joint Care helps to reduce inflammation with omega-3 and replenishes glucosamine, a natural compound vital to healthy cartilage and joints. Choose the Joint Care formula that is right for you. Supplex, Complete, and Max are available at your local pharmacy. Joint Care, a part of the 7 C's family of vitamins and supplements.
Fruta, taste the real Fruta, enjoy the real Fruta, refreshing juice of every day. Whoa, Fruta, drink the real Fruta, your favorite Fruta, the natural taste is Fruta. Fruta.
Your favorite fruit has got a new skin with real juice within. Drink the real Fruta. Enjoy the real joy.
Taste the real Fruta, enjoy the real Fruta.
Fruta, juiced right.
You need a drink, have a Viva, Viva. You want some fun, get a Viva, Viva. Taste the flavor, have a Viva, Viva. Oh yeah, Viva is the one. Say goodbye to boring. Let me hear you sing. Got to have my Viva, whatever, so much better.
Viva sparkling flavored water. Water, but better.
Hey, Dad, want a race?
Well, let's see who's trying to keep up with who today.
Oh, because you need a head start?
I'm already way ahead of you, son.
Keep up with what matters. Joint Care supplements your active lifestyle by supporting your bones, cartilage, muscles with essential nutrients. Joint Care helps to reduce inflammation with omega-3 and replenishes glucosamine, a natural compound vital to healthy cartilage and joints. Choose the Joint Care formula that is right for you. Supplex, Complete, and Max are available at your local pharmacy. Joint Care, a part of the 7 C's family of vitamins and supplements.
Welcome back to Island Tea.
Yeah, man, you're good.
Oh, okay. Because I got shame last time. So
Yeah, I know.
So, welcome back to Island Tea with your faves, Kevon and Azem, featuring Gwen. Johns.
Croissant crew, big up yourself one time.
Oh yeah, Azem just give me a speech just now.
Oh, wow. Oh, please, that wasn't a speech.
It's okay. I shall change my ways.
Oh yeah, croissant
I
crew.
shall
That's
change my
okay. I
ways.
see where you're going now.
It fits in. It's okay. I apologize to the nation.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
Kevon friend.
No.
What? No, not a what? Main accident yet?
He just telling you no.
Me, no. I just felt like
Don't
just
say
telling
main.
you now.
Exactly.
Remember, we can't say main on the show anymore.
Main, no. my show, well, our show, our rules.
I agree. But anyway, let's jump into
Like my friend says, Megan Kashi name, 2 dozen. 1 dozen is a doesn't know, and the other one is a doesn't care. So, let's. Oh my God, they all read these. Okay, so let's go to Nevis. So T before Joseph show up again.
Before Joseph.
For Joseph show up again, because I think he's just cooping me at this point. But tea time. Hee hee. So, Premier Mark Brantley says that non-nationals must present proof of vaccination for residency or work permits. That's spicy. So, effective May 1st, 2021, non-nationals seeking a work permit or renewing work permits or residency will have to show proof that they have been vaccinated against the coronavirus. That announcement was made by the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, on April 28th at his monthly press conference. His words were, "What we have now..." Wait, what? Oh, he said, "What we have..." I saw the bottom of the sentence and it just threw me, the bottom of the paragraph, and it threw me off. He said, "What we have now decided is anyone seeking a work permit or residency or seeking to renew a work permit or their residency will have to present evidence that they have been vaccinated. We feel that this is a reasonable measure to take in the circumstances, just as persons seeking a work permit and residency have to submit evidence that they are free of tuberculosis and syphilis." So Premier Mark Brantley also said that he received the support of his cabinet colleagues and that the decision was arrived at to assist in the fight against the coronavirus and use the opportunity to solicit the support of the non-national community. Other statements were, this is not novel because we're seeing it in other places. Just yesterday, I think I saw a news item saying that the Turks and Caicos Islands are having a similar approach that they have taken, and we would want the support of the non-national community in this regard. Incidentally, we are also advised that the non-national community constitutes the highest percentage of persons who have already taken the first shot of the vaccine, and so we are optimistic that this will not negatively impact anyone. Mr. Brantley also said that Mr. Brantley, who also serves as the island's senior health minister, said that people who have medical reasons for not being able to take the vaccine must present proof from their doctor, and that would qualify them to be placed in the category of persons who are unable to take the vaccine. As of April 28th, 3,004 persons on Nevis have taken their first shot of the vaccine, and at the same date, 9,428 in St Kitts. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I like this one. To be honest, I don't know how I feel about this one. This one kind of,
Yeah, like this is my question too. Like, I have a question. Like, for all the people who like are down for some of the measures that are put in place in order to, let's say, entice people to get vaccinated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a limit? Like, is there something that you would not feel comfortable with? Because I think we're gonna have to start figuring out where we're drawing these lines, right? Like, is it that you? So if they tell you can't get business license if you ain't vaccinated, you can't go to the supermarket if you ain't vaccinated. Like, at what point do we start drawing the lines? Because I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, who is a resident national now for some time, and he's pro-vaccine. He's already taken his vaccine, and he was so visibly and audibly upset about this measure. You know, I felt like, you know, foreign nationals were being targeted and unfairly treated and blah 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 blah. And
well, I can't really say they're being targeted, because even here they're saying that you can't really work in certain industries unless you're vaccinated. So I don't know if it's a target.
Yeah, but then you have a choice to change your industry.
Yeah, but the trajectory we're on, it seems like most businesses going to have this implemented.
So they're being targeted until they're not being targeted anymore.
Hmm.
But that's my thing. Like, I would like to know from some people, like, where do you draw the line? Like, what would be the thing that you go, okay, yeah, overdoing it now?
It's a good question. Who asked that question to? Who?
No, just people who support these measures. Like, I would want to know if there is a cutoff for them, and I assume that would differ based on people, and, you know, different people have different cutoffs. At what point do you?
Yeah.
Because in essence, it seems as though the approach is, and this is one of the things that's going to be very difficult. It feels as though the approach is, how can we make people's life so difficult that they just up to go and take it.
Boy.
Right. So I want to know, like, where like, is there a line that people would feel, you know, uncomfortable crossing?
Questions that need answers, and I don't have those today.
Yeah.
You know, I would also kind of like to hear from the national population. You know, if there's anybody that's listening, you want to call in to add to the conversation or send a message, don't text me.
Don't text me.
Yeah.
Don't text me.
I think
put
it would be.
If you would like to remain anonymous, there's other ways we can do it.
But I think there's a lot of just like everything else, this is going to be a very polarizing issue. I think there'll be people who support, some people who won't support. But I'd like to know, like, the thought process.
Where do we draw the line?
And the thought process behind your stance. You know, that's something that.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, and I recognize I might be speaking from a place of privilege, but if I was working overseas, and that was the case, I'm probably just have to go home.
Yeah.
But again, I'm talking from a place of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, we have a caller on the line. Caller, you taking the vaccine or not?
Yes, my first shot already.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. But the question is, okay? I mean, this is my personal point of view, okay? This is not not the views of anyone else. It's my personal point of view.
Noted.
I've been suffering for over 1 year because of the business that I am in, all right? And I am looking at if we need to get back to where we were in 2019 before COVID hit in 2020, we have to make some positive move towards what we want to do. I would say this now. I think some of the folks that they're using to speak and spread the news about taking the COVID shot, I don't think they're the right people to do it, because some of them is not people like a people's person. You need people's person to go out and present certain things to people, because some people won't listen to you because of, some people are very stuck up. I'm going to be frank, right? So some people don't want to listen to them, all right? But I do think that I don't think anyone is targeting the non-nationals or anything like that. In other countries, I know there's Kittitians living abroad. And I know I could call a Kittitian today and they would tell me they have to go and take the shot because they are Kittitians. You understand? Because they're not from that country also. So, I mean, if we're going to move forward, I mean, I'm not saying that Kittitians and Nivijans shouldn't take their shot, right? We all should take it to get to herd immunity, because that's the only way we can get things done again in our country. I mean, as I said to you, I mean, I've been suffering for over a year. You understand? I mean, if we don't reach to herd immunity, we won't be able to do nothing at all. What are we going to do? The country is going to remain in a dormant stage? No, we cannot let that happen. You understand? I mean, I think you guys are doing a very good job. Mr. What your name is? I think you have locks on your head.
Hanley. Kevon Hanley.
Yes,
You don't have locks on my head. He lying at me. It's Azem.
The one that you read the news and WINN FM in the morning. I think you're doing a very good job. I applaud you for what you're doing. And I do think, believe me, if you guys could turn, it can use a lot of young folks to turn things around also. And you guys are young folks. So I don't know if you guys want to be ambassadors to, let's get this thing done. Let's see what we can do.
I appreciate it so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much for that, caller.
Thank you.
So, I'm starting to feel that nobody knows who's on the show.
Kevon.
Because he said,
Jade.
Yes,
Jade,
no,
Jade.
Stop it. Yes, there is a Kevon that reads the news.
Kevon with the locks.
Kevon with the locks with the news.
Yes,
that's what you're talking about.
Kevon with the locks reads the news.
That
Kevon
just shows we are a union.
Yes.
We are
exactly.
We are one well-oiled machine, and we work together efficiently, effectively.
Indeed.
Shout out to Kevon who's upstairs listening. No, actually, I think he's off today. But shout out to Kevon who actually reads the news in the morning, and then the other Kevon that reiterates the news on the show.
It's like a BOGO. Buy one, get one.
You buy one Kevon, you got another one.
No, not that. You buy one.
I like mine more, so I'm sticking to it. Kevon, where you disappear to? Did you fall out the jail?
Kevon.
I'm going to put on a shirt.
Kevon B,
Kevon.
disappearing all the time.
No.
All the time. Sometimes they just get fed up and
B and one is Kevon H. Oh, you mean A and B? Anyway, take the call.
Yeah, guys, we have another caller. Caller, good morning. You're live on Island T.
Yes, sir, good morning. Regarding the item for foreigners applying for work permit to have to take a COVID test.
Not a test. They have to be vaccinated.
Excuse me. I think.
A vaccination. Sorry. A vaccination. Well, put it this way: they already have to take a test for syphilis and TB. The other thing is that those requirements are in there for what? To protect the population.
So would it be the same if they do a COVID test instead of getting? Would it be the same if they were required to do the COVID test?
Why don't they do a 14-day quarantine then?
You asking us?
No, but that.
Well,
but,
no, I mean, you all put out the questions, but nobody comes up with any answers. I'm putting out the answer that here's my suggestion is that the reason for this requirement is protect the population. Maybe the government, maybe people would like to don't want to take vaccination. Maybe the government should just open up the borders, and who dies, dies. How about that? Discuss that one.
So, I'm a little confused. Perhaps the caller could call back, clarify it, because I think that the whole vaccination campaign in its entirety is structured around protecting the population. One of the issues I had with the argument is you're comparing the test versus the vaccine. So, for instance, if you wanted to say that they had to do COVID test, or even those who have been residents, so those who are on island or whatever, if they wanted to do a COVID test, just like that, and add that to the list of tests they have to do for syphilis and for TB, then I think that's apples and apples opposed to apples and oranges.
Yeah. I'm not really 100% sure, but it says that they have to submit evidence that they are free of tuberculosis and syphilis. I'm not sure if that is in the form of vaccinations or tests.
You do a test with it if you get a little bump up on your hand, then you're gone in.
Yeah.
But
which I've done before.
You had the bump? What do you mean?
No, he had to do the test.
Oh, I thought he said he gone in before this guy said Kevon.
No, I've done.
Yeah, so that's my thing. Like, when you like, yes, the vaccine campaign
is important.
Is not only important, but I think it's the premise behind it is to protect the population. But then I think the issue comes when you start mandating it for certain subsets of people. Right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where it feels weird. When you say like, okay, you can't this, because for instance, if let's say they're saying people in a certain industry could you can't work unless you have that. Okay, cool, but you can't work. No, but you could decide to change. For instance, a lot of people who were in that industry because of the crisis, they chose to move into other industries, right? But you said I can't work at all, and I can't be resident. I can't I'll have to go home if how am I even gonna get home? Right, so yeah, I think that's the feeling for some people. But like I said, there's some people who would support it and some people who won't. So I'm just interested to hear the thinking behind whether or not you support it or not. So that caller just kind of sees it as like another step to protecting the nation. But like I said, I think that's the goal of the entire vaccination campaign.
Yep. Anyway, Kevon. Oh, before we have another call, never mind.
Good morning, caller. Live on Island T. What's up?
Yeah. Good morning, man. How are you, man?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Yeah. This is very funny position to be in, man.
Mm-hmm.
But the debate gonna be always there for the vaccine, man. Whether it's be protecting public health or preserving one's personal right. But whichever way it goes, man, it's going to be interesting to see this play out going forward. But one thing I believe that people got to be aware of is that the government, you remember the saying, there's different ways to skin a cat. The government, they're going to figure out ways, they're going to figure out ways, rather than people, being like forced to take the vaccine, they're going to find other ways to get around that. Just remember, these people are in control. And, they're going to find different ways to, whether they're going to pass rules and regulations in Parliament or whatever. But we already don't see the trend that they're going in. We already see the trend that they're going in. They are finding ways to, it's not mandated, but when these private entities come up with the notion that people got to get vaccinated in order to participate, like to work or whether to, get a service or whatever. So when they take that channel, they're going to back everybody into a corner, and it's going to turn out to be like as if like the vaccine is mandated. That's my contribution, man. And, good luck going forward, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, I have a comment. It says, STD tests as condition for work permits is absurd. One can transmit STDs.
Contract.
What's that, contact?
Mm.
Oh, sorry. One can transmit STDs outside the workplace in the 6 months that OECS nationals are free to visit but not work. Their sexual activity is not constrained.
Yeah, this is weird, man. Like, for me, it's weird.
I also not sure what I mean. Okay, but for me, it's just like, okay, you submit the tests, you then date. You are now living in St Kitts and Nevis. You are then involved with a petition, and you possibly get syphilis. Now what?
Now you're out of a job because you didn't use a condom.
It's not one of those. It's
Well,
like it's.
I don't
it's
think-
not.
but-
I don't think it's not something that's region specific. So I don't feel like it's a bit absurd to me.
But not only that, do you have to do the test every time you renew? It's only when you initially apply. I think it's when you initially apply.
Yeah.
But we could clarify that. But yeah, it's like these and that's what I'm saying. Like, some people are gonna be for it, some people are gonna be against it. I'm curious to see where do we draw the line, if there is a line, because like the caller just said, and it's a sentiment that's been expressed here on the show several times, ourselves, by callers. Like, you could literally just like mandate it for anything and then be like, well, it's not mandated. Like, you could just make it a requirement for anything and then say it's not mandated, by making it so difficult for people to operate without it that you just kind of have to get it.
Yeah.
Like semantics.
Ways and means. So, cause
the caller said there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, they can't make it mandatory, but they got something for y'all. Well,
because we and tell you, I'm looking, and I think Minister Grant, when he was here, hinted to it about possibly denying access to public spaces if you're not vaccinated. So, for instance, we have a holiday coming up on Monday. What do we to say? You can't go to the beach. You can't go to the beach and you're not vaccinated.
Oh no, they can't go on. Well, time money none. So we sorry, call us on Tuesday because we won't be here on Monday to take them. But somebody's saying that the test is upon initial application.
That's what I'm saying. That was my understanding, that is initial. But here now, somebody who has been, so for instance, you could have been living here, working here for however many years, a resident, non-national, contributing, paying taxes, doing all these things.
Yep.
And then to know renew, you can't renew because you haven't taken the vaccine. Yeah.
Not reading that.
Yeah. I don't ever read any. So I can't. Like with a name like that, they're really interested. But yeah, guys, it's like, and I'm here for these types of conversations.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I think these conversations are important to have. I think it really helps to not only inform people about what the positions are, but I think it also helps to get a feel for the temperature in the room, right? And understand what people are feeling, what people are thinking, because we don't want to wait until it gets to a point where there's this total frustration. Because the thing is, frustration will come, but frustration builds when it's not addressed, right? So
agreed.
I think these are conversations that we need to have. Yeah.
Somebody said they would like to know if having an STD is going for denying a work permit.
I think tuberculosis for sure.
Apparently.
Tuberculosis and syphilis, I think.
Yeah. Because this, I'm going to read it again. This what Minister Brantley said is Premier Brantley said is we feel as though this is a reasonable measure to take in the circumstances, just as persons seeking a work permit and residency have to submit evidence that they are free of tuberculosis and syphilis. So I'm assuming that if you have both, one or both, it sort of voids you or like disqualifies you.
I have no idea why them too, but I was thinking maybe next week we could talk to Drip to see what he says.
I don't want to talk to Drip.
No?
No.
He said, so what do you want to talk to?
No, not about this. I want to talk to a health official. Like, I want to talk to a health official. Like, if you're talking about this, like, about this, that's what I mean. I always want to talk to Drip. But about this, like, health officials are people involved in immigration. And, well, I guess this will also fall more on the national security as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how these things play out, what the feelings are. And like I said, I know people who are pro-vaccine who felt very attacked by this. I know some people who are very supportive of it. But it does feel a bit like targeting. I don't understand how you could tell. And if you're telling me the reason that it's not targeting a specific group is because they're targeting specific groups elsewhere. Like,
no, that's still targeting, man. that helps your point. That doesn't dispel. But anyway, Azem.
Yeah, guys, it's
time for us to go home until Tuesday. Yes. Not that we won't miss y'all, but you know.
It's a real Friday today.
Yes, finally. You can actually say it. Like, we mean it.
Yeah, so guys, really appreciate you guys tuning in with us today. It's always a pleasure having you. Big up to all the online fans. We've been seeing you going crazy in the comments today. It's a funny thing. We didn't even read that comment about the Mark of the Beast and Papa Jesus. But there's just so many comments coming in sometimes that it's a lot. But we really appreciate you guys participating. Thanks to all the callers. Thanks to the guests that came in today as well. Make sure you like us on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch.
Yes, Joseph.
Yes, he is. He's having a holiday in space. But yeah, make sure you like, comment, share. Again, we're encouraging people who listen to us exclusively on the radio to check us out also on social media, YouTube. WINNMedia SKN is where you could find us. If you have Instagram, check us out there for some clips and flyers, let you know what shows we have upcoming, what guests we have upcoming. There's a lot of information there. So guys, it's Friday.
So we have time to let our honorary fave say something?
Why not? I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? We have time. Sandra could wait.
So please drive safely and do right by others. Please use our roundabouts correctly. Meaning, don't overtake in our roundabouts. Don't switch lanes in our roundabouts. And when you're exiting, please indicate so that folks driving behind you can know what your intentions are. It will reduce accidents and almost accidents by significant proportions.
Stay in your lane, people.
Stay in your lane, figuratively and
literally.
Also, please let us remember to park our vehicles in a manner which is conducive to the collection of garbage from our friends at solid waste. If you park your cars irresponsibly, then people can get their garbage collected with the trucks.
Clean.
So gentlemen, when you're thieving a piece, please park around the corner.
Right.
So the truck can get up the street or where your madam lives to collect her trash.
Indeed. It might work out better for you too.
Indeed. It's going to be a clean environment when you get there the next time. Also, let us please, put pressure on our lawmakers and our policymakers and our policy designers and wheelers and dealers in Parliament to take a look at our outdated laws, all of them. The traffic laws, the sexual assault laws, the everything as it relates to, so that they can relate to current day life and current day society here in St Kitts and Nevis. Update them so it's a reflection of what's actually happening and not what used to happen in the 1960s. And with that, I will turn it over to our Master of Ceremonies, His Excellency Honorable Kevon Hanley.
A.K.A. the Chapstick Don, A.K.A. Prosecco Papi, A.K.A. Chapstick Don, A.K.A. Duke of Frigipe, A.K.A. Coffee Drinker in a Tea Lover's World, the one and only Kevon Hanley.
Just remember, you can't be everybody's cup of tea because you is not a mug. see you on Tuesday because I'm not coming on Monday.